Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today, we got Brandon.
Hello.
We're going to talk about games and things.
Games and things.
What's on the agenda today? Resident Evil, Cyberpunk, Rhythm Heaven, StarFox, news.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. I will go first because I have new things. You have old things.
I do.
So, two things. Well, I'll start with the big one, StarFox.
Okay.
So, remake for StarFox 64 came out this week. And I think it's great, actually. I like it. Actually, I think it's my favorite version of this game. I'm actually surprised by that. Yeah, there's lots of nice things that they did with this. I mean, I will say, if there's any one thing, like, while I do like the new cutscenes, and I think they actually add a lot more characterization to the game, I do still wish that there was an arcade mode where it was just kind of like snappy, like the 64 version. Like, because otherwise you have like, a couple minute cutscenes that kind of fill in details, and I'd rather just have, the quick like General Pepper be like, hey, whatever.
Yeah. That, and then we fly to the planet.
Yeah, just make it fast and snappy, for those kind of modes. But keep the campaign mode for
an update.
Huh?
Nintendo's been having a sort of like playbook that they follow, where they release a game, and then you're like, why didn't they have this thing? And then like 2 months later, they're like, by the way, we've added this thing. So I'm saying, don't worry, they'll add it in an update for like 2 months from now when everyone's forgot about the game.
Yeah, they could. And it makes sense, in terms of what they kind of set out here too, to have something like that. Because they have a campaign mode, they have a challenge mode. So just something that's just kind of made for, kind of like a, like I said, like an arcade mode where it's just kind of like a quick, single run, boom, 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 done. But really that's kind of my only like, big thing, I guess. So they did change a lot of the dialogue around. Some of it kind of feels like if you run it through like AI and it just...
Oh no.
Well, no. Let me finish before you say. Just saying, like, where you run it through AI and be like, hey, make this sound nicer. And so they'll take lines like I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, because there's a couple where they take the same general meaning and they just kind of like use fancier words to get to the same point. I know there's a couple good ones, and I'm not going to think of them now off of my top of my head. I know one was Peppy being like, your father helped me like that too. But it's changed to something like, oh, your father used to help me like that back in the day as well, Fox. Like, things like that, where it's like
they just added more stuff, but like it's saying the same thing.
Exactly. And they do that so
many overcomplicated things in a way that it's like, it feels like they ran it through AI generation to give them more stuff to say, essentially, is what you were saying.
Yeah, actually, another one, there's one that I do kind of remember. Like one, when you beat a boss in StarFox 64, Fox goes, sorry to jet, but we're in a hurry. And in the new game, it's something like, sorry to leave, but we got things to do. Like, it's like the same general thing, but it's kind of just there. That said, I do actually like the voice actors that they have for like a bunch of the characters, but you can tell that they did not spend nearly as much on like the not important characters. So like, actually, I really like the voice actors for Fox and Falco. Like, I think they did a good job with them. I think Peppy and Slippy, fit the same general motif. Same thing with like Pepper and Andros. But everyone else is like, okay, who can we hire for cheap? And so like a lot of the boss or just kind of general enemy character voice acting lines, they're just not great voice actors. That's probably the best way to put it. Like, in Macbeth and StarFox 64, when the train is crashing, he'll be like, I can't stop it. And he does like this kind of like long drawn out thing before the train crashes. And now the guy's just like, I can't stop it. It's just, it's like, okay, got it. Bye. But all that said, they did fix a lot of nice little quality of life things. Some of the story stuff makes more sense. So, like, they'll have dialogue stuff inside the chapters to kind of explain things that exist in the world that really probably never crossed my mind before in the N64 version, but just kind of nice little touches. Like when you're going through the asteroid field, like the second stage, Slippy will point out, he'll be like, what drilled all these giant holes through this meteor? Well, I never really thought about it before. You're just flying through the center of a meteor. Well, now you realize, okay, well that's what the boss, character was doing. He's using his lasers and making these big holes and blowing things up with it, and that's kind of where the risk is. And they kind of do things like that through the rest of the game. I think also too, it's nice the game's a little bit more clear on like what goals are, for medals or which stages have alternate exits, those kind of things.
Hmm.
And even too, it takes into account, which I thought was nice, because this was always something that bugged me in like the 64 version. So let's say, like for example, you do the asteroid field, all right, and it gives you, if you do the asteroid field, the default path in 64 is Ficina, or not Ficina, it's Katina, but you can use the alternate route. Like if you don't do the fast way in Medio, the secret shortcut, it takes you out to Ficina. Now, when you finish the game, I mean, before you could tell it to pick the alternate route and just that was it. But now when you finish the level, it goes into a cutscene and it'll be like, "Oh wow, you found this secret route," and then Pepper will be like, "Hey, we could either use you in um, Katina because we didn't think anyone could get there to help them, but now, obviously because you found this secret thing, you could go there. But we also could use you in Ficino too. Use your best judgment to decide where to go. We could use you in both places." So it doesn't necessarily make it feel like, if you're doing an alternate path, like you're kind of cheating. It's like, oh no, these were actually both legitimate options, and that's kind of how they intended you to play it, and that's just kind of what that is. And I think that's nice. Obviously, too, I think graphically the game looks phenomenal. I think that's great. I think they smoothed out some of the gameplay stuff that's there too. I feel like things like getting into those secret warps or those secret exits are a little bit easier and more straightforward to do naturally, without too much kind of messing around there. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, it is Star Fox 64. Like they really didn't add a ton, to the main game there, but they did add, like I said, there's a challenge mode that will let you go through. You can pick a level, be like, oh, I want to go, just I don't know, I'll just pick one and be like, Titania. And you can just go there and just it will start up like normal. We'll give you a list of a couple different challenges to do. If you beat all of those and you unlock the expert challenges, you can do those. I've really only played the ones for Corneria, but a lot of them are pretty fun. So like they'll be like trying to think of an example. Like one will be like, I'm only remembering the expert ones. One I know one of the normal ones is to defeat all of like a certain type of robot enemy, or to um I'm trying to think what other ones are. Beat the level in a certain amount of time. Like, oh, you got 3 minutes to beat this before it goes up, or to
Mm,
blow up all the parts of this specific boss before defeating it. So those are all kind of things that are there. The expert
okay.
challenges were like, oh, beat this boss in 30 seconds, beat this boss in 10 seconds, get 100 hits without taking any damage. So they can be very kind of creative. One was like, beat Falco through his own challenge. So, like, if you in that one in particular, talking about if you remember with Star Fox 64, if you fly under the arches in the water, that will take you to the secret exit. That's what we're talking about. So, in this case, they
Okay.
want you to fly through those arches before Falco can, to get that challenge. When you get the challenges, it unlocks some like extra, not like content, but just some more like lore stuff. Is how I would describe it. There's also multiplayer, which I have not played at all. There, but otherwise, I mean, the game visually looks good. It sounds good. The like I said, the voice acting for the most part, I think, is pretty solid. Aside from like those just lesser characters, is I guess how I would describe it.
So it's just like the
Um,
ones that don't matter, but everything
yeah,
else is good,
exactly.
like you were
hmm
saying earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, like ones that just kind of like one-off lines here and there, and
Hmm.
some of them too. They do like there are some of the classic like Star Fox lines are still kind of intact. Like you do still get Andross's like only I have the brains to rule Lilat. Although I think they changed it to the Lilac Galaxy. Whatever. Um,
Gotta add the extra. Gotta make it
yeah, they have
extra.
that extra word, but it's still there, in tone. So that's good. I do think too, like the one thing I do like is Falco's still an asshole, but he's better with the way he is an asshole, if that makes any sense. And Fox, they made him actually a little bit like of a cocky leader, which I think that was a good fit for him. Um, yeah, so I really like that. Falco has some like good lines though. I do really enjoy it because like he was talking shit about General Pepper, and he basically just calls him like General what's his name or something like that. Yeah, so there are some kind of fun lines in there. Did you have any questions on it? I mean, I don't think it's StarFox. I don't really know how much extra to talk about on there, but
No, nothing really. I mean, I want to play it and check it out at some point in time. This is when I expect to actually hit a pretty substantial discount on the used market, so I'll probably jump on that later on down the line.
yeah, makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I think this game is really good. I do think this is really, they did a very good job setting out to do what they wanted to do, which was kind of rejuvenate the Star Fox franchise.
Hmm.
And I think they did a good job of it. I mean, even as much as I've played and rebought this game, definitely find myself going back to it and be like, oh, this is cool. Or just kind of seeing what little secrets are there, even though it's stuff I already know. It's just kind of interesting to see how it plays out or how it changes the game kind of as you go through. So that I thought was all really clever. The other thing that I spent some time on this week was Rhythm Heaven Groove. They put out a demo. Full game comes out this week.
Okay.
So they put out a demo. It basically gives you four mini games and one remix. So definitely a good chunk of things to try. It also gives you a multiplayer thing to try out too, which I have not. But I did really enjoy the stuff that's there. You know, usually when you talk about the first kind of area of a game, the remixes and the music stuff is pretty straightforward. So not really a bunch of oddities there. First one's kind of a follow the pattern kind of mini game. So you're the end of the line of like five characters, and you kind of have to jump, just in sequence with them, to jump through like a hula hoop. Another one is kind of a similar like follow the sequence kind of thing where it's, you're playing the music and you're opening and closing umbrellas, kind of to the music of the game. That was fun. Another one is more of a timing mini game. If you're familiar with this is an older Rhythm Heaven mini game, but it's appeared a few times. It's called Exhibition Match. And basically they give you someone's throwing a baseball, and then on the other side of a curtain, there's a man with a baseball bat, and you kind of have to do the timing to hit the baseball, kind of with as much time as it takes to pass through that curtain.
I see.
Um, and this one's kind of similar. You're throwing frisbees for a dog, and the game is basically like you got to count down 7 beats, and then you got to jump and catch this frisbee. So that one I think is actually probably the most challenging of them all. Um, but they do a good job mixing visual cues with audio cues. And so if you really kind of focus on what's going on in the game, and this is true for any of the mini games, follow the visual cues, follow the audio cues. You should have enough information to figure out what to do if you give it time. But yeah, so that was that. The next one, the last one before the remix is called Feed the Beast, which is fun. You're like a little dinosaur looking thing, and you have to eat these little hearts that kind of jump out at you. So that was really fun. It actually has a really kind of cool anime song on there too.
I have a
And
question about this game.
sure.
So, original Rhythm Heaven
Mhm.
was very. I'm not talking about the Game Boy Advanced one. I'm talking about the one that was released on DS. Was touch involved? Can any of these be played with touchscreen on the
I
Switch?
don't think so. Even the
Okay.
3DS one did not. So,
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 Cool.
mhm. Yeah, at
I
least
just
as
didn't
far
want
as
to
I
get my
know.
fingers all over the screen. I was like, I don't want to deal with that shit. I'll play this. I'll give it a try. I'll try the demo of this one. Sounds
Yeah,
fun.
demo can't hurt you. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's a nice size demo too. It definitely gives you a bit to enjoy there. But yeah, as far as I've seen, no touch controls.
Okay.
And then the remix, that's kind of where they take all the different mini games you learn and put them all together into one song. You're kind of jumping back and forth in between them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I think the music they have in there is pretty snappy. I think the games are, I mean, maybe not totally original, but they at least, they do their purpose there. So that's all
Hmm.
fun. I think of all the games that are in this version, there's equivalents in other games. So it's not like they're not reinventing the wheel. They're going with stuff that works. And I think that works really well. So yeah, there's that. But otherwise, that's really all I had been playing
Okay.
this last week. So, do you have any other questions on Rhythm Heaven? Anything else I can
No,
kind of
I
touch
think
on
I'm
for
just
you?
gonna play that one myself and then find out for myself how that is.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'll be talking about it more next week because, like I said, the actual release comes out this week. So, by the time you have this episode in your ears, I will have already played the full game. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Mhm. Yeah. All
So
right.
I guess I'll talk about my stuff now.
Yeah.
So I sat down and rewatched all of Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and then I was like, man, now I want to play the game again.
Uh-huh.
So I never played all of the DLC.
Okay.
So that was what I set out to do. We already talked about that before. I hadn't played much of the DLC at all, honestly. So I've been playing the DLC of Cyberpunk 2077, the Phantom Liberty. That's the one. That's it. That's the name of it.
Yeah, not the Phantom Pain. That's the wrong one.
Yeah, exactly. That's another game I should probably 100% finish, but fuck that. Um, yeah. So Phantom Liberty DLC. First of all, this map is massive. Like the open world area for Phantom Liberty is there's a lot there. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot
it's a
extra, and
decent size. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and there's a lot going on there too. So I own this on PS5, so I'm playing it on PS5, and
Mm-hmm.
even with that, it's got some slowdowns. So I'm kind of curious how it is on Switch too. I did want to ask you that. You played through Phantom Liberty, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, the performance is not as good as the rest of
Yeah.
the game, but not anything I found
Does it
detrimental.
still have like a large like city of people inside the main um football arena? Like there's so many people in there.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's so
And
many
actually,
fucking
that's not
people
even
there.
really the issue where I run. That's not really the place where I remember running into issues. It was actually closer. I feel like the area that I had the most problems with was actually closer to the entrance,
Oh,
where
okay.
those
Probably
weird
because of
gates
all
are.
the loading gate. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know anything about this. I'm actually gone into Phantom Liberty completely blind. I played about like 4 or 5 hours of it the other day. I
Mm-hmm.
also went back and got like David's jacket from Edge Runners and Rebecca's gun from Edge Runners in Cyberpunk 2077 because they have both those things in the game, and they have since the game launched. And so I had to like do all the missions to find all that stuff, and that was kind of cool. Seeing all that stuff was neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 is just a league of its own. This game is just awesome. Like going back to it and playing it again. Like when I was listening to you talk about it last year, I was like, yeah, this game's really good, but I don't know. I didn't have the itch to play an open world game, and now that I'm playing it, it's like kind of all I've been thinking about. It's really really good. So I've been enjoying that a lot. I think I'm not super far because I've been like kind of exploring the whole city and looking through things. So I just met Solomon and we just brought him back to our apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and that's essentially where I'm at right now. So
Okay.
I mean, like I've made it in. I've followed Songbird. I've done 2 boss battles. Secured an apartment. Did some side jobs. Met different people around. That sort of thing. I
Yeah.
also now like I have 2 days to wait until he calls me. So like, or I can do like more side missions. So I've just been going around in um, Phantom Liberty, Dogtown, and doing a lot of different side missions and stuff. Like I met a robot that was like on the fritz and kind of going crazy and writing weird shit to me, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just like sent me pictures and told me to like go here. So I've been following that quest line, and then I was also grabbing cars to take to the chop shop in the main story from Dogtown because that's part of the story, I guess. I don't really know. I didn't ever have missions to do this kind of chop shop stuff before, so cool. That's been fun.
Are you talking about the car missions?
Yeah, the ones that are in Dogtown, the ones where it's like you see the guy. I think the way I got introduced to these specific chop shop missions was I came out of my apartment and I like walked down the street and someone was like assassinating someone like with a gun to the back of their head. They were down on their knees and they like were about to pull the trigger and steal the man's car, and then I just killed both of them instead and took the car, and the guy was like, "Hey, can you bring that to me?" I was like, "Yep." So then it unlocked like Dogtown Chop Shop missions, and I was like, "That's kind of cool."
Yeah, if it's the ones I'm thinking about, those will happen all over the city now, and they're like unlimited. So you'll just be going around and you'll randomly just get something to pop up on the screen and it'll be like, hey,
It's
go
been
get
giving
this
me a
car for
lot of
me.
eddies, and then also I keep getting discount codes so that I can buy
Yes. Yep.
like a car that I want. Yeah, that's pretty
So it's
cool.
definitely
So
the same thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
is it. And it's super helpful. It's a nice way to generate money. It's a nice way to
Hmm.
get cars for cheaper.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is very good.
So
So and
that's what
those
I've
are a
been
lot of fun too,
doing.
because it keeps it keeps giving you something to keep doing, like,
It
endlessly.
does.
Like I said, they don't run out. There's no end to those. So you'll always, as you're going around, you'll always find kind of new ones.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's just a way to make more money. Well, I'm gonna keep doing it then. Fuck
yeah.
it.
I find for the most part they're kind of fun. I actually really
They are.
enjoy them.
I like either, you know, outrunning the people that try to follow you back and tail you, or just straight up killing them and going on a mass murder spree. It's
I
fun.
know. Yeah.
It's an absolute blast.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's move on from that one. And I will talk about another game that I picked back up, which is Resident Evil Requiem.
Okay.
So when I left off in this game, I was inside the Institute, and I'd gotten the girl out of the the needed level 3 clearance cage that she was in, and then I needed to take her to a place to do a puzzle essentially for me. And since then, I have played a shit ton more, and I'm like really, really close to the very end of this game. And I have some thoughts on this game.
Okay.
First of all, I like this game. Like, I like this game a lot, but I have problems, and my problems with this game come from Leon's missions.
Yeah.
They're just so Resident Evil 6. They're over the top, and they're really stupid. Like, really, really stupid. Like, the entire, without giving too much spoiling away, the entire motorcycle chase.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's like funny stupid, but it just feels really weird when juxtaposed behind like Grace's missions. Cuz like Grace's missions are really dark, really like horror focused. And then you go to
Yeah.
Leon and it's like bro's playing fucking Super Smash Brothers and just beating the shit out of the who's of different enemies that you fought before in the past. It's like, okay, it just looks like nostalgia trip time when I'm playing as Leon essentially.
Yeah. I mean, really.
And yeah, I mean it's a good game. I do enjoy the game as a whole. I just think Leon's missions are a little too like overtly silly. Even the
Mm-hmm.
ones that aren't necessarily silly, you get a stat track bracelet that keeps track of the kills you make. That's so dumb, and it's so funny when you think about it. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Because it's like Grace is like, I'm trying to escape. I'm trying to live. I'm having to deal with all of this shit. I'm having to turn off a flashlight and move this stuff and solve these different problems and go from point A to point B and be very scared in these very cramped and enclosed spaces and sneaking around trying to avoid this gigantic monster. And then like Leon's like, lols, I got a motorcycle and I'm shooting dogs.
Sounds about right. Yeah. No,
And also,
Leon's.
his one-liners are so fucking stupid that I actually laughed out loud while playing. When you fight and defeat one of the bosses, you have a motorcycle jousting duel. And the guy fucking explodes, and Leon leans over the hole where the guy just exploded and died below, and he goes, should have worn a helmet. And I
Huh.
just cracked the fuck up when he because it was the dumbest shit ever. Like, yes, Leon, the helmet would have saved him from the explosion.
Yep. That's all he was missing. Just that.
it's it's so dumb, but it's dumb in a fun sort of way. But it's just really like destroying the immersion when I was going back and forth between Leon and Grace, and it was just like, what are we doing here? But it's fun, so it doesn't matter. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about that game.
Fair.
How did you end up liking it? Did you like it a lot?
Yeah. I liked Requiem a good amount.
Would you say you liked it more than some of the others that you played? Because I know you were playing quite a few.
Definitely better than 6. That's an easy one.
Well, yeah, that is an easy one. But I mean, you were playing other ones. Like I think you played
Yeah, I did
4
7,
again,
8 as
and
well.
oh no,
Nope,
you did
didn't do
7, 8.
4.
You didn't do 4 because there's no Switch version, but you did 7, 8.
Yeah, 7, 8, and Revelations. Um, I mean, I think Requiem, I like that it has the mix between the first and third, and I do
Hmm.
like that you can choose kind of which way you want to go with that too.
Hmm.
I was reading some people saying that, playing the opposite for those characters like almost dramatically changes how it feels. And I can imagine that. So like if you play
Yeah.
like third person with Grace or first person with Leon, like it
Wait,
almost feels
how
like
can
an
I
entirely
play
different.
first person with Leon? I didn't know I could actually do that.
Yeah, you just go into settings and change it.
Oh my god, okay. I kind of want to try that now.
Yeah, you can play the entire game in whatever perspective you want, which is nice. So if you want to play the whole game in
I've been
third
playing
person
it
with both
in the
characters, you
perspective
can.
that the game told me to, basically. So
Yeah, that's what I
there's
did
that.
too. I mean, I think that's I think there's a reason why they did that way, and I think it's the ideal way to play.
I mean,
Um,
Grace's makes a lot of sense in first person. Like that shit is terrifying.
yes, and I guess too, from what I was reading, they've made some adjustments to how it plays in that regard. Like if you're playing Grace in third person, I saw someone comment that to compensate for the change because now you can see everything. Like she'll do things like if you're going to like run away from an enemy, she might stumble a bit and slow down if you're in third person.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of smart. Hold
Yeah, I
up.
thought so too.
That's actually neat.
Yeah, it was very, very thoughtful.
Okay, well that's cool. I like that. Yeah, I like Resident Evil Requiem. It's good. It's just
Okay.
it's just silly,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
some respect, and
hmm
it's really dumb. It's bordering, and I think maybe you can agree with me in some cases. It borders in some parts in Requiem, especially when playing as Leon, on Resident Evil 6 levels of dumb. It borders. It has some moments.
No, Resident Evil 6 is so bad. You can't
No,
even
it's a
compare.
bad game. It is a bad game. You're correct. I'm not saying this is a bad game. I'm saying Resident Evil 6 has a lot of dumb shit that happens in it, like dumb action movie set piece moments. And some of those same moments come in Resident Evil Requiem when you're playing as Leon.
I mean, I don't think it's any worse than any of the other Resident Evil games, though, comparatively. Like, they all have dumb shit. I mean,
No.
look at Resident Evil 8. That game is all, like, crazy shit from top to bottom.
Brother, I drove up the side of a building that was collapsing on a fucking motorcycle and then I had to jump off of it. And then
Yeah, I
fought a man that was throwing rockets at me. No, it was stupid as fuck, dude.
okay, Resident Evil 8, you fight against a man with Magneto powers who dresses like a cowboy. Like,
True.
Like
True.
this is par for the course. Also, a gigantic Dracula-esque woman. Like it is not like there's so much like ridiculous stuff in there, or even too like Resident Evil Revelations. Like Chris's partner, her wetsuit literally looks like I don't know. They try to make a sexy wetsuit. Like that just doesn't make any sense. Um, and they have like I don't know. They have all sorts of weird like blob monsters and things. I don't know, like I said, you can't really take Resident Evil at face value. You never could. It never took itself seriously. Resident Evil 6, I agree with you. Definitely far more egregious because that's what they made the entire game. But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't think this game is any, aside from, like the moments that you did, not any more egregious than any other games. Like they all have kind of weird moments like that.
I
Um,
think I think the entire boss fight with a certain someone is very egregious and bordering on Resident Evil 6 levels of dumb. Like that entire boss fight. And then another boss fight that happens immediately after it is also bordering on Resident Evil 6 levels of dumb. And a little bit of frustration as well. I will say that. I'm
but
trying not to spoil it. There's someone you have to fight, and the only way to actually fight him is by parrying all of his hits. And then there's another one after that where you have to also parry all of his hits. And it's just like, okay, we're doing this. All right, cool. So it's like the knife fight in Resident Evil 4, but I'm actually playing it.
fair.
And
Yeah.
that Resident Evil 4 knife fight is really stupid also, but it's like the kind of hell yeah stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've never been a big fan of like the QTE boss fight stuff, but yeah, I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember that stuff standing out that too much for me, but when I was playing it, so
Mm,
I just don't remember. It's been a little while. I mean, obviously, the game's been out like 4 months now. I really don't
yeah.
remember it as much then, but
Hmm.
yeah, these things are still fresh memories for you.
True.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
Anyway.
that's that. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. You ready to move on to news?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. Lead us away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, GTA 6 is coming out November 19th? Is that it?
Yeah, something like that.
6 release date is November 19th for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and the pre-orders have gone live and they start at $80.
Mm-hmm.
And you can pre-order the physical edition, which has no disc inside.
Mm-hmm.
And just comes with a code instead. That is also $80. And in this single player only game, because they've already said that this is when asking an FAQ about the multiplayer, Rockstar said that Grand Theft Auto 6 is a single player exclusive game, essentially. Exclusively single player. There we go. That's the thing. That leads to some questions about what happened to multiplayer. Are they going to charge for also the multiplayer? Is it going to be a subscription-based thing? Is it going to be its own standalone thing? What's going to happen there? But also, in the single-player title, you could pay $100 to get the full game. Because if you don't, you will have actual shops that are locked out from being able to actually go inside of in this single-player title.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you pay an extra $20, which is pretty fucking crazy, to be completely honest. I have so much more to say about this. But legitimately, I just wanted to put all this information out there because we are going to do another episode at a later point in time that is completely revolving around this game and the kind of effect it could have on the entire industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of things to say about that as a whole, because it is very concerning and not good for the industry at all. So we'll talk about that in another episode. So let's move on to another group of people that are fucking stupid. Xbox.
Uh-huh.
There are currently rumors going around that people don't know why Xbox showed off State of Decay 3 because they're planning on closing down the developers of that game. But even more so, they're planning also on closing down Arcane Studios and selling them off to someone else. But even more so, there's other studios that we don't know about that they're also planning on closing down. And I actually have a thought right now going through my head about Xbox, and I didn't ever think that I would say this, but I'm going to say this right now, and I mean it. The best thing that could happen right now would be if Xbox died. If Microsoft as a whole died, the entire brand of Microsoft, Xbox, just gone. Because legitimately, they are telling people about stuff, and then weeks, days, or even hours later, being like, yeah, we were just lying. We're actually shutting down that studio tomorrow. By the way, this is us telling you, studio, we're shutting you down tomorrow. Good luck finding more jobs. Go fuck yourself. And legitimately, I feel at this point in time, with the amount of closures, mismanagement, and studios and developers being literally killed off by Microsoft without even being given a chance to do anything, that the best thing right now for the industry would be if Xbox was gone.
I mean,
it's so bad. Like, we have never seen levels this bad.
I don't disagree with that, but
bad.
Xbox going away means that every single one of those people would lose their jobs instead of just a smaller amount.
I do understand that. I understand that completely. I do think that that is a very big issue. I meant,
and that's also including Bethesda, all of Activision.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know you probably don't mean that exactly as you're saying.
No, I do not mean it that way. I know what I know what you're getting at, and you know what I'm getting at. We're getting at two totally different things by what I'm saying. I'm saying if those companies somehow were able to land on their feet and get somewhere else and get away from Xbox, and Xbox was able to just go away so they could not do this again, that would be what's best for the industry. And that's the best way I can put it. Because at this point, they're not catching up to Sony or Nintendo. And they're not even trying. They're just ruining a lot of things.
They're just trying to draw things out until next generation. That's what they're trying to do.
On top of that, Microsoft invested heavily in Copilot and AI. Them continuing to exist is just bad for the industry overall. Trying to put something like that is, and which, by the way, consoles are getting so unaffordable. Consoles and shit so expensive. No fucking shit. You're the one that caused it, along with everyone else. You can't just sit here and just be like, yeah, this stuff is so bad. We understand it's so bad, when you're the one that caused it.
Well, that's fair. On a couple different sides of their fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Xbox. I grew up with Xbox, PlayStation. I grew up with everything, but I was very heavily into Halo and whatnot. I'm at this point in time saying Microsoft is doing so many bad things for the industry that, like, I don't even know if you mentioned, like, if Xbox were to go away, those companies would get shut down all at the same time because Xbox is gone. I think if they don't go away, those companies are all going to get shut down also. Like, they're just going to be dragged out instead.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, Microsoft. So, kind of your thing, like, why did they show off State of Decay? Why did they show off Senua and then go around to close the studio? At
Yeah,
least, part of the other part of the rumors, which you didn't mention, was the reason they did that is because they're trying to supposedly avoid closing the studios in hopes that someone will look at these games, find some promise there, and pick them up. Because they have already. I mean, I guess this Microsoft probably looks at it as like, hey, we've already got this
they're just
groundwork done on this
shopping
game.
around companies that they have. Then all they're doing is shopping around their developers to other people. Like, does anyone else want this? Because we're gonna fire them otherwise. That's what it sounds like. What you just described.
No, I mean that's literally what they're doing. But they're looking at it as basically like, hey, these studios believe strongly in this game. We've seen what they have done over the last X amount of years.
Yeah.
We don't believe in them. But if someone does like what's here and thinks that there's promise, they're available. This is what they have in the pipeline. Take it with you.
Yeah.
I mean, because you think about it, like, I mean, look at it this way: if you were Microsoft and you were like, "Hey, we do have to make some tough decisions that the people have to go," would you save the Senua studio?
Okay. I don't like the game. I don't like the series. You know that.
Uh-huh.
I like
Yeah.
the original one. You know that also. I
Mhm.
liked it when they were operating on their own. But there is legitimately talent there.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not disagreeing with that. Like the games
and
look nice.
and and Microsoft does need variety. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, personally, from a business standpoint, I do think it would be okay to keep them because they need some kind of variety in what they do. Senua is kind of their cinematic single player title, like Sony has their cinematic single player titles, and that's Microsoft's cinematic single player title. So in this
Microsoft
case,
has
with this one's
plenty of cinematic single player titles. Do they really need Senua?
name three.
Indiana Jones,
That's
Fable.
Bethesda, but okay, I get you.
Nope,
And
Microsoft owns
Fable.
Bethesda. You
Yep.
can't, you cannot squirrel that away. So
Yep.
otherwise, you could
No.
be like, oh yeah, Senua. Um,
Yep.
that Halo. You have, I mean, so many Bethesda things.
Halo is not cinematic.
You don't think it's cinematic?
Absolutely not. Halo is a first-person shooter, first and foremost. When I say cinematic, I didn't necessarily mean that in a good way. I meant that in, like, you think of cinematic, you think like Last of Us. You think like God of War. Over-the-shoulder divorced dad simulator kind of games.
I mean, that's still. I mean, then they have Fable. Like I said, they have.
Fable's Fable's a good example, I would think, but we haven't
Mhm.
actually seen that yet.
Doesn't Fable come out in February?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, like, we haven't seen Fable since Fable 3, unless you count the Kinect game.
No.
It's a new studio working on Fable.
Yeah,
We
but
don't have. Okay, go on.
no? I'm sorry. You can finish what your thought was.
I was gonna say we don't have enough information heading into this to be like, yeah, this is their stand-in for this sort of thing. Whereas we do have two Senua games and a third one that was apparently already heavily in development.
From what I read, that
Just like
game
we
was.
had two State of Decay games and a third one that was already in development as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going back with here.
But really, Microsoft's
Why are you
not
choosing studios that
that
have a track
are
record versus don't have a track record? I guess that's the best way to put it.
what track record does the Senua Studio have? They released one decent game, they released one horrible game, and that took them like
Well, I hated it,
15
but I don't.
years.
I think it actually did well.
I don't think that game did well. I'm pretty sure it was really panned. Actually, let me see if I remember correctly. Hellblade 2.
Hellblade 2 was a critical success.
Uh,
According to Ninja Theory, that it was a critical success.
well, of course they're gonna say it's their game. Of course they're gonna say it's a critical success.
Okay,
I mean, the
that's fair.
Metacritic reviews are not horrible. It's got an 85% average for
Mhm.
critic reviews. It has a lower score for player reviews. It has only like a 7.3 average from players. Where is the? Oh, got a perfect score from PlayStation Lifestyle.
Ooh, it's those cinematic divorced dad over the shoulder camera games, and of course the PlayStation guy is gonna love it.
Interestingly,
Mhm.
every single one of these reviews is for the PlayStation.
All right, well there you go. I mean, Indiana Jones also did better on PlayStation, if I recall correctly, and so did Forza Horizon 5.
And it
And
has
6 will
zero
probably
critic
do better
reviews
also.
specifically for the Xbox
That's hilarious.
and PC. The only reviews for this game are for PlayStation 5.
That's interesting.
Yes. But I mean, it's kind of
I didn't
back to
like
the
the
issue.
game. I didn't like the game, but I knew people did like the game. Like I had my own gripes with the game, and I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to be uber biased just because I hated it. Like I did think that this thing made some modicum of success, and I thought they had a proven track record. So getting rid of a more unique, okay, main thing I was trying to say is getting rid of a more unique studio versus not so unique when it comes to your catalog of games seems kind of dumb because you'd want variety on your console. You understand what I'm saying?
Variety is not helpful if it takes them 10 years to make a game.
Well, it took them
I
10
know
years
I'm being
because
sarcastic. It didn't take them exactly 10 years, but the
it took them a
turnaround
long
between,
time, but the
yeah,
turnaround was bad because they were working with going from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. I mean, like they swapped from one engine to the other. I mean, there was a reason why it took them so long to develop the game.
but that means that was
Yeah, they could do the
probably,
same thing going from 5 to 6. Yes, I understand. And they probably would. They
and it was
probably honestly would.
and the other thing is though too, like it probably was a poor decision for them to do that switch if it was that detrimental to them making the game. I mean, I think the moral of the story is, I don't think that I think really, in some ways, I think you're looking at it.
I'm looking at it as casting a wide net to get as much of an audience onto your console as possible is a better value than just axing more unique studios that could bring some form of, content to your console that people don't get elsewhere. That's what I was looking at.
No,
Looking
I
at
mean,
it
I
as.
don't disagree with you on that side, but the problem is, the other thing that the Senua Studio has proved is that they're inconsistent
Yeah.
and they're unreliable at getting out a game in a timely fashion. I think Microsoft is probably looking at these studio closures not in terms of necessarily
How much money
the.
it took? You think that?
I think it's what are the odds that this studio will be able to come together to make like a coherent product
Mm-hmm.
in a reasonable amount of time
Mm-hmm.
without needing like a lot of like micromanagement.
That's fair.
And even if like, because you think about it, even studios that make good games, fall victim to this. And I mean, we see it a lot on the Sony side of things too, because it's like, hey, we're closing Bluepoint. Some of it's management
Yeah.
decisions, but really kind of how management
Oh,
looks
don't
at it
worry.
is
Sony's
like,
going to get theirs next.
oh yeah, I'm
It's
sure they
coming.
will.
No, I'm about to rip them a hole also next
Yeah,
after we're
but it's
done
the
with this
same kind of thing.
conversation.
Really, like I said before, the big problem with Microsoft and with Sony is they both took their studios. They didn't want to give them any oversight, but they gave them a blank check and they expected to do things. The studios that are
Yeah.
going to do the best are going to be the studios that are going to survive this are going to be the ones that have been the most self-sufficient and have produced, consistent track record of games. The ones that are going to be under the radar, like with the strictest things, are going to be the ones that have had spotty releases. Obviously, you can tell they've had difficulty in development and
Yeah.
probably went over budget. And obviously, we're not going to know that last one, but presumably, any studio that took more than 5 years to put a game out is probably over budget. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about it even too, like Hellblade 2 is like a less than a 5-hour game. So
Yes,
even
it
if you're
is.
like,
It
yeah, they had
sure
all these
is.
difficulties in development, then why did they only come up with a 4.5-hour game? For that sheer amount of time that they put into it.
I
I mean,
really understand exactly where you're coming from. You have no idea how hard it is for me not to just throw my bias out there and be like, yeah, because they're dog shit at making games. But they're not. Like I know they're not. That's the problem here. They just they apparently just put way too much effort into and like that's a good thing, but it's not a good thing if you're burning
yeah.
through funds, you
Yeah,
know?
and you could have good. I think the issue with a lot of these studios is not the bottom of the totem pole, not the programmers, not the artists, not the art direction. It's the
Hmm.
leadership, and that's that. The leadership did shitty, and the whole studio is getting punished for it. And
Can I be honest, right?
yeah,
You want to
or,
listen to something that I think would have made Hellblade 2 a better experience?
mhm.
Episodic.
Yeah, I mean that could definitely be there too.
They
Although
would have had
episodic is
time to work out episodes over time and advance the story along as it went. Like as they developed more, they could do that sort of thing until it's a full-fledged game, you know. And then they could take as long as they needed and like, you know, that sort of thing. Like well, episode 1 is this, episode 2 is that, da 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 da, instead of making a full game that's only 5 hours. Because when you have a full game that's only 5 hours, you're kind of like why did it take you so long? But when you
yeah.
have like an episodic game that's like 5 hours, then you're kind of like, okay, all right, an hour per episode, 5 episodes, kind of little cutoff points here and there, which they definitely had moments in that game where it made sense to be like, all right, next episode, that sort of thing. And I probably wouldn't have been as annoyed
Well,
because I
until
still
you
would have not
remember.
liked it. I still would have not liked it, but I would have had enough time to all right, let me see if I can put this into the
Okay.
nicest way possible. I would have forgotten what I disliked about episode 1 by the time I made it to episode 5.
Mhm.
Like it wouldn't all be clearly in my mind. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm giving them a benefit of the doubt. They got some time to work these kinks out also. Like they could have changed some of the story too, you know, over time based off of certain things. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. I just think that game actually leads to being something like that a lot more than just one full story that's like 5 hours long.
Yeah, but the trick with the episodic games is we really have not seen them, I don't think, work terribly well.
I
Uh,
disagree. I disagree. I think the Dark Pictures anthology is very good.
which one's that
I
one?
also that was the games made by oh god, was it Supermassive? Let me see. Let me double check. Uh yeah, Supermassive Games. So um that's like The Devil in Me, Man of Medan, Little Hope, House of Ashes, those kind of games, which were episodic releases of one overarching narrative that was done in like multiple years, like from 2021 all the way up to like 2023, I think, if I'm
Mhm.
not mistaken. And they were released at like full price, or $20 depending on like which one, or you could buy the whole thing for a certain amount. And then they even did like a spin-off of it with the Quarry, and honestly all of these games worked really well as episodic games. And I
Mhm.
think doing something like that with Hellblade would work as well.
Yeah, but games that work as episodic
Hmm.
versus actually, how do I put it so it makes sense to what I'm trying to get to? Because releasing games in episodes,
Hmm.
there's a couple different things to consider, and some of it's the timing of the episodes. Because you get stuff that, like Telltale, they were pretty consistent with their episode releases. But
Hmm.
then you have something like Deltarune, where it's like, here's one, and then, okay, a long time later, here's two, and then, okay, skip a couple years, here's three and four, and then skip another year, and here's five.
Five came
And
out yesterday.
yeah, I mean, and stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess in terms of finances, it helped on that side,
Oh, it
but
wasn't yesterday, it was last week. My bad.
in terms of the game player experience, is it a better experience? I don't know. It definitely killed the interest in the game for me. Because I know I told you when we talked about it last time, I literally said, I'm not buying this game until I know it's finished. And you're like, no, there's not going to be another episode. And then they're like 5. And I'm like, see?
Yeah, and now they're actually saying 6 will be out in 2027.
Yeah, like, I mean, it can work for some studios. Like Telltale did very well with it, but also it killed them. So I don't know. But I don't disagree with the sentiment. I think it's theoretically possible with some things.
I think it would work with Hellblade. That's all I'm saying. I think it
Yeah.
would work really well with Hellblade because it's a very like advanced game. So if you did like little bite-sized chunks and you developed one and you charged like $20, $30 for one, and then episode 2's like, either you got the pass and you get all the other episodes for like another $40, or you break it up between like $15 chunks or whatever the hell it is they're going to do. That sort of thing I think would work for Hellblade. And I think that would have been a way that they could have made it so they're constantly putting out content throughout the years, and they're also bringing in a revenue stream, and they're also continuously having to prove themselves and having a longer track record, and hopefully being able to keep consistent. That's all I was saying.
But what happens if they let's say they put out episode 1 and it did fine, and then episode 2 comes out and it's commercial failure and they can't afford to finish the game?
Okay. So first and foremost, when it comes to episodic games, I don't think I've ever seen that happen. Second, there's kind of like a stipulation when you sell episode 1 that those other episodes are part of like a pass in the future, and those other episodes do get released. So they do come out. You do get your money, and then there's that. I don't know. That's a great question, because I do feel like there are some episodic games that have been like, episode 1 is so good, or episode 5 is so good, and the ones in between are just meh.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, and this actually, because I'm just trying to look and see, but what was I going to say? There's also a big fact that the what was I going to say? A lot of people don't finish episodic games. Or not episodic games. People just don't finish games in general. So each subsequent release is probably going to have less sales than the first. So you have that kind of side of things. Also, someone pointed out here, in terms of episodic games that didn't end well, this is an interesting one. I didn't even think about this one. Xenosaga. Because that was supposed to be 6 episodes, and they were like,
oh yeah, they got 3.
Yeah. Or where's Half-Life episode 3?
That's not episodic. That's different.
Literally, it's in the title, Brad. It's in the title.
There was never an episode 3 named.
Okay,
there was never an episode 3 named.
But
everyone just wants to will it into existence. There was never said to be an episode 3 coming out. There was never said to be a Half-Life 3 coming out. That's like me saying, hey, where's Halo 8?
So if Half-Life 3, when it gets announced?
Yeah, when it gets announced, and that's the sequel to Half-Life. It's some Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
The way Half-Life 2 worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was Half-Life 2, then Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. The Episode 1 and 2 were companion pieces to Half-Life 2, and they were expansion packs, basically. And that's what they were sold as. They were not sold as, we are making Episode 3. They were not sold as Half-Life 3. Just like when you played Halo 2 initially, and you saw at the end, and Master Chief was talking to Cortana, and Cortana said, where are you going? What are you going to do? And then Chief looked at the camera and said, I'm gonna finish this. And then fucking credits rolled. You were not guaranteed a Halo 3. At that point in time. You were not guaranteed a Halo 3. You were never guaranteed a Halo 3. That could have been the end of the entire series. And that's kind of the same thing here, what you're saying with like Half-Life 1 and Episode 1 and 2. Because you did have a full game with Half-Life 1 and 2, and then Episode 1 and 2 was just an add-on expansion, essentially. And then you had Half-Life Alyx, which you kind of say is Half-Life Episode 3, but it isn't.
I mean, on the episodic video game page, Half-Life is listed there.
Who's the fucking idiot that wrote this? What page is this? What page is this?
It's Wikipedia.
Yeah, they're fucking stupid. I'm trying not to say something else, but they're fucking stupid. Episode 3 was never confirmed and not a thing.
Or like here's another. This is another example. This one, they did 5 episodes, but the 5th episode was just released as a part of a complete edition of a game. It's not one I'm familiar with, so I don't think it's anything that anyone
What was
probably
that one?
cared about. Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Oh, that's an industry darling in the indie scene.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, at least as far as I can see, like there's
that
been
one did
lots
well,
of,
didn't it? If I'm not mistaken, that did really well.
I don't know. I really don't think any of these did like above and beyond.
Brother, I
Not
literally
that they
see
did
Bendy and
bad,
the
but
Ink Machine toys in Walmart and Target every single fucking day.
I'm not saying that is not a bad thing. I'm just saying that generally a lot of these were. I mean, if these, let me put it this way: if these games were so successful episodically, then how come we really don't see that many of them again?
Well, the ones you named, not other than the Half-Life, the Bendy and the Ink Machine one, which I'm going to focus on for a second, that's an indie title, and we do see those. There's a lot of games in the indie scene that do episodic often. So there's that. But yeah, that's all I was going to point out for that aspect at least.
Yeah,
I think episodic has gone the way of the dodo for like big budget titles, mostly, or big budget studios, mostly because
I think it's because it's too expensive, and
I
I
don't think
think
it's.
it's.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
Maybe I don't know.
for Telltale stuff, it's one thing because you're not really, these aren't big worlds. It's mostly story focused, so it's a little bit easier to do those kind of things episodically because you can change things pretty quickly. But you think about something like, what was the example that you gave earlier? Oh, like Hellblade. Hellblade, like if they had difficulty just kind of getting together what they had there, what are we going to see? What would we see for something like that if they were to do like another kind of smaller thing? I mean, I
I
don't
think it
know.
could have gone either way if they were to do it episodic, because they could have a. I don't know. I think.
Oh,
Well,
here's
I think we
actually
just need to. Okay, go on.
Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Forgot about that one.
Oh.
First episode released October 2010. Episode 2, May 2012. Third episode was planned but canceled.
Yep.
So,
You know what? That one is absolutely valid. I remember how bad that was.
and that's a side scroller. That one actually,
They fucked that up. They fucked that up so
that
hard.
that's kind of like the quintessential easy one.
Nope. You know what? That's fair.
Mhm.
That is fair. I
Yeah.
forgot all about that game because of how bad it was and how much they fucked that up.
Yeah, and I think really, honestly, I think
Then
episodic.
they replaced it with Sonic Mania.
Yeah, and that's much better. But I
Sonic
really
Mania
think
is just a
actually, I
better
think
game.
episodic games really kind of just evolved into DLC. I mean, I think that's probably for most.
Yeah,
cases.
I think you're right.
Mhm.
I was just trying to think of a game that it would make sense for to be episodic, and as a way for that company to be able to. Okay, so it took them 10 years to make Hellblade 2, right? That's what you said?
I mean, I made up that number. Is that right?
I know. I'm just
Okay.
giving an example. That's what you said, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, maybe if it was episodic, it only takes them like 2 years to make episode 1, and then like 2 years to make episode 2, and then so on and so forth. And then there's like always the stigma of like, oh, I want to know what comes next. But there's also the chance, like you said, where maybe nothing comes next. But I do think that they would have maybe been able to have that weight make more sense if it was released over time as a episodic feature instead. That's what I was trying to say. If it was like that, it might have made more sense for it to be like a 10-year lifespan for the whole game for Hellblade 2. But it not being that doesn't make any sense. And yes, I know it wasn't literally a 10-year lifespan, but yeah.
Yeah, the first trailer came out in 2019. Although
And then it released in 2024, I think it was, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at something on Reddit, and they're like, "Well, it didn't actually start development until 2020." You're not going to have a trailer if it didn't start development. I mean, they may not have started physically building the game.
That's not entirely true.
No. It is true because planning is an important part of game development too, and you can't just put together a trailer with no plan at all. Be like,
You can.
we're gonna make another Senua game, so we'll just make something that kind of like they have to have an idea of what they want to do. Like you don't like at the point you make a trailer, you already have an idea. You already kind of have a general direction of what you want to do with it. You already are kind of working on new graphics tech. Like even if they're not physically like oh here's a world where Senua can walk around in, like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is already there. Like even with Cyberpunk 2, I mean that's been in some like development over the last few years, but a lot of it's been planning and figuring out like, hey, where's the story going to go? What's the setting going to be? What kind of engine are we going to use on this game? What's our targeted platforms? Like that's all important stuff. And so really to discount like the game doesn't start until the first line of programming is made, that's not true. Like there's a lot of work that goes into building stuff before you even start building stuff. It'd be like, oh, I'm going to go build a house, and you don't start you say you don't start building it until you like dig the first hole. Well, no, you're gonna have a blueprint. You're gonna have a plan. Like it's kind of the same thing with video games. Like you don't like, yeah, same thing. You have to put work in before you can start, digging that first hole. So yeah, it's not the full team. It's not like necessarily like a 300-person team that's actively developing, but it still did have some work that was putting into a preliminary work with a smaller team. So maybe 4 years of full active development for Senua, but to discount saying the trailer didn't count as actually like making the game is not true. I don't know. That's my 2 cents at least.
But
fair. Anyways,
I do have a counterpoint, and we need to move on because we gotta get off this.
This episode needs to be done.
This episode's really long. We gotta go. We gotta stop. But I do have one counterpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft. And then I'm done. That's it. That's all I have to say. Ubisoft. We know for a fact when it came to Ubisoft, they would show gameplay and things, and they had no idea what they were going to do with the overall game. And then the actual overall game is very different from the gameplay they've shown. One of the biggest examples of this was The Division. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but then I have to counterpoint that too. And I would say Nintendo. Nintendo shows off shit all the time for stuff that doesn't make any sense as it's shown off, but it eventually evolves into different things. And that's all part of that blueprint thing, trying out new ideas and seeing what works. And
well,
all
I was saying is that some companies have done this shit. That was my point. Some shitty companies have done where they just show shit and then it's like, this is never happening actually.
Yeah, but I mean, like you'd look at something like Mario 128 back from the GameCube days.
It just became Pikmin.
Yeah, but if you looked at it, you would think it's a Mario game, and people were asking for Mario 128 for decades, and it was never, by that logic that you're kind of saying, it's like, well, if this was Ubisoft, it was just them fucking around, but really it's them like kind of the same. It's doing the blueprint, it's doing the behind the scenes work to figure out like, hey, is this a good concept? What can we build this into? What can we turn this into? We like this idea. You don't just like I said, it's not like you don't come to a trailer without any this is not AI. Like you don't just type in like make me a trailer for what the next Senua game would look like. Like okay, if they did something like that, sure, that's bullshit and there's no work in there. But if you got to the point where you built a cinematic...
next week, we actually just told AI to do a trailer for us, then neither of those games actually exist yet.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it past them, fucking assholes.
I mean, who knows? But yeah. Anyways, I agree. This episode's done. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
One last thing, and this is why I've been trying to get off this, because you can cut so much of that we just talked about. I said I have to give PlayStation their shit, and I'm going to really quickly.
Okay.
I just ranted about Xbox for quite a while, and I think that's valid, but I also need to throw some PlayStation in here for a second, because we heard recently from Sony that they feel like they just didn't get the right audience, and they need to continue trying with live service games, and they are going to continue trying to make live service games because they feel like they can bring something unique to the table. They just got to get the right one. That was in an interview recently where Sony said that they're not backing down from live services, and they're actually going to double down on it and continue trying to make live service games. So I just had to call a spade and also show that Sony's also fucking stupid. So
Oh yeah,
there you go.
no surprise there.
We just had a $300 million flop. What do we do next? Do it again.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. They're not learning their lessons, and it's gonna bite them again. But as it's the same thing. It's like if they have these concepts and these ideas, like they really need to think these things through before they kind of move things along. Because right now, I really think they just go from trailer to development without any real forethought. Like it just, yeah.
Yeah, they're really not thinking at all.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be Fortnite, and you can't make another Fortnite because it's already cornered the market on Fortnite. You need to do something
Exactly.
else.
And that was the same problem, honestly. The same problem back in the MMO days when MMOs got really big in like the early 2000s. Everyone was like, let me make my own MMO. And they really didn't take the time to think about, like, hey, why is World of Warcraft successful?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and, what they could do. And you did have some that kind of pried their way into that space.
Final
But
Fantasy 14 did pretty fucking good, just saying. And
yeah,
I'd
that
say
one
they're
did.
arguably better than World of Warcraft right now at
Oh
this
yeah, I mean
point.
at this point, yeah, definitely. I mean, but it took them time, and
Yeah.
that's not for them stumbling. Because don't forget about Final Fantasy 11, because that was not as well received as 14.
If 11 did fine, it was 14 the
11 did,
original. It was 14 the original that did so poorly they shut the entire thing off and they
and
literally killed
rebooted
the
it.
server by like nuking it. Like they dropped a nuke from from orbit. They literally in Final Fantasy 14 did Meteora and destroyed the entire server and wiped the entire thing, and then, as you said, rebooted it as a Realm Reborn, and then that's where they actually clicked.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, 11 for what it was too never really took off like the other MMOs. I mean, it did fine. I agree with you. Like it was not a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was not did not get the same success as Final Fantasy 14, and it really did not. Like I said, in my time with GameStop, I would say like it was an MMO that people played, but it definitely was not in the top tier. A lot of people had issues with it.
There were
Um,
there were some problems with 11, if I recall correctly. The actual subscription model was a little jank compared to World of Warcraft, which was a barrier to entry to begin with, and then there was also some other stuff that was a barrier into entry that made it so it wasn't as approachable as World of Warcraft to
yeah,
even get started
yeah.
in the
Final
first
Fantasy
place.
11 had the steepest difficulty curve, like from the get go. I remember people telling me like, "Yep, I got in the game, and the first thing
Not
I
even
saw was a
that.
bunny, and it killed me."
Not even that. The difficulty curve was so steep for Final Fantasy XI that it started with, did you have the correct hardware to be able to play it? Because like for instance when they launched it on PS2, there was like certain things you needed to do, and then also you needed the modem, and it was one of the only games really that required that specific brand, and you needed this, and then you needed a subscription, but it needed to be on this site, and you needed to register it off of the PS2, which back in the day when this was being done, that was unheard of. It was unheard of that you'd have to pull up a computer to register for an account to use that account on your PlayStation 2. And it was confusing and it was disorienting to people. And even getting started, like even being able to have the act of starting the game and actually logging in and playing it was difficult from the get go for that game because
Mhm.
it was so new. It was something very different for the audience it tried to grab. Because Final Fantasy's original audience was very much console based. So that's where people wanted to play that initially, and then it was kind of difficult to get started. So they didn't really do it. But yeah,
Yeah, the modem wasn't the big issue there. It was the hard
not
drive.
necessarily in the modem. Yes, the hard drive, but also, like I stated, the fact that this was a PS2 game, but you had to go out of your way somewhere else to even register the account. And back in we take that for granted now. Like that's a very easy thing. But you think about console gamers back in the day, they're not going to be seen like dead near a PC. So like,
Yeah. All right.
let's
Ready to
move
wrap
on.
this up.
I'm done. This episode's over. Let's go.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget to find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. All of our episodes are available on game-crunch.com. If you want to send us email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon, any
I
final thoughts?
No, I've got nothing. If I have final thoughts, but we'll talk about it in the next episode. Let's go.
Okay. Uh That said, my name is Mike Anastasia. Find me online on Clash of Penguin there or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Jump right in again. Step to the left, clap, spin on the brake, snap. Crazy little game night, keep us coming back. 1, 2, breathe in. 3, 4, glow. The room goes bright. Then we go, go, go. Hear that cue? I know. Rhythm heaven calls. And we all say go. Game on, game on. Rhythm heaven. La 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 la. We're in heaven. Game on, game on. Crazy music games. La 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 la. Say our names. Tap tap, smile wide, match the beat, don't miss. Monkey hand, snack line, perfect little twist. Bell chime, quick glance. Now the crowd says go. Every silly challenge turns to sparkle glow. 1, 2, breathe in. 3, 4, shine. Catch that pulse, and we're right on time. Hear that cue? I know. Rhythm heaven calls, and we all say go. Game on, rhythm heaven. La 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 la, we're in heaven. Game on, crazy music games. La 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 la, say our names. Spoken chants go, rap it, tap it now. Spoken chants go, show me how. Then the melody floats like foam. La 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 la, we found home. Game on, rhythm heaven. La 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 la, we're in heaven. Game on, crazy music games. La 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 la, rhythm heaven.
All right.
So the next
Ready-
episode.
You ready to roll on the next one?
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we gotta move. It's like 8 o'clock.
yeah. Let's go.
All right.